Welcome to Data and AI Conversations with Surya. That's me. Here we dive into real stories, insights, and career journeys. So let's get started. Hi, Gabi.
Hi, Surya.
I'm so delighted that you could do this. I mean, let me first introduce you to my listeners. So, you started working with, I think, SQL Server a long time ago, and you've had a very dynamic journey in tech. You have done a bit of web development, you were a BI consultant for over a decade, you were a data architect and a Microsoft MVP, you're an international conference speaker, and since 2022, you've been working for Microsoft. And now you are the principal program manager for the Fabric Cat, that is a customer advisory team. So, congrats on your promotion, first of all.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite exciting, and as I told you just when we had the chat before, it's actually the first real promotion in my full business career. So of course I was doing different roles, but I was always working in small companies. Like you said, I started as a web application developer, but I always had this kind of tendency, that kind of attraction towards data. So I was mostly doing data access layer, managing the databases, all of that in the background, and always did the kind of reporting requirements, reporting duties besides the actual application development. And so it was a natural development that after a while I actually decided to move completely into the BI and analytics space. Like you said, I was working as a consultant architect with a Microsoft partner for more than a decade, and I'm very, very grateful for that time, because my organization, especially my manager Oliver Engels, gave me a lot of support, allowed me to find out about my own strength and my own preferences, supported me when I wanted to become a speaker. And I know that this is not the typical thing that happens. So I'm very grateful for him. And even though I decided to leave his company, it was not because I was unhappy, but because he allowed me to explore the world of data and analytics and get to know all those amazing people in the CAT team. And then when I got the opportunity to work for the CAT team, this is as close as it can come for me to become my dream job, or to be my dream job. So I couldn't say no. And yeah, now I'm a principal program manager, together with my colleague Benny, who got promoted at the same time. And I mean, it's just one of those fancy names. Actually, it's not much changing for me, but still, it feels really, really nice. It's a great feeling to get promoted. It's like it's feeling appreciated for my work and what I'm doing, and that is so important in our busy and challenging times. So, and thanks for the congratulations, and thanks for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Of course. I mean, and when you were talking about your boss at the previous company, it almost sounded like you were describing yourself to me, because that's exactly what I felt when you were mentoring me. Because it's not like it's a support, right? Even though obviously I was being a bit short term compared to what you had with him over 10 years, but it's a support. At the same time, you were challenging me, like, like, oh, are you sure you're thinking about this right? Or why are you putting yourself into this little box when you can expand further? And I'm like, because at that time I was quite like narrowed down. I was like, I'm going to do this speak, and I'm going to do this talk, and that's it. That's all I was aiming for. But you kind of helped me see beyond that, like everything kind of connects together, like the overall picture. And I'm really, really grateful for you for doing that as well.
Thank you
So
so much.
can you tell me a bit more about the Fabric Cat team?
Yes, I will, of course. So the Fabric Cat team is part of the Fabric product group inside Microsoft. We're a little bit different than the other teams in the product group. So we are actually called customer success program managers, but we are not part of the sales organization. We are part of the product group. So we are very passionate. We care about the success of the product. But I mean, everybody knows a product is only successful if it is used by customers and by users. And if those users actually can use this application to solve their problems, their challenges, if those applications can actually help them to perform the jobs that they need to do in their daily life.
Mm-hmm.
And that is why my team, and that is something which I feel very exciting as a kind of duty, we are like the kind of bridge between the teams who are actually designing and developing the features for the product and our account teams and the customers. So the account teams know how to reach out or whom to reach out to when customers are actually challenged in their journey to embrace Fabric, to actually adopt Fabric, when we're running into limitations because features are missing, or when we are running into natural limits that we introduced with the product. Because I mean, we all know you can't build something perfectly from the start, and you can't build something limitless from the start. So sometimes we just have to think about something like this feels like a good limit. This should actually work for everybody. But sometimes reality proves us wrong. And that is where my team actually jumps in, and we are split between different sub teams. So the major pillars of the team itself are, again, this communication with the customers, being technical advisors, being kind of or giving recommendations and best practices to actually help overcome those problems, but also understanding this kind of feedback, those challenges, collecting this feedback, curating this feedback, and sharing this feedback with the teams who are designing the product, so that they actually can get a very, very good and consolidated view of what we learn from the customers. Second role is really supporting those teams even closer by actually helping to test and evolve the products. This is more what the specialists in our teams are doing, or also really helping customers with edge cases. And the other part is sharing knowledge about the product. So that is what I love as well, going to conferences, going to podcasts, sharing about our experience, sharing about the products, working on best practices and things like this. And this is what the different teams in the Fabric team are doing, the customer advisory team, as the actual full name is. And yeah, we're all doing our shares, our parts of it. And I never regretted joining that team. It's an amazing team, both from a personal and individual viewpoint, but also from the role inside the PG. I feel that is a super important aspect of our PG. And I also feel one of the important aspects why Fabric actually is successful.
No, that's great, because it's not, your role is kind of almost like translating between the two things, isn't it? Where you help the customers gain actual value from it, right? And at the same time, give feedback. But I suppose when it comes to most of the data or software products, that's where the term iteration comes in as well, because you need feedback to be able to iterate and get to a better level. It's never going to be the best possible option right from out of the box. So yeah, it's definitely a valuable role there as well.
And that also is mirrored in how we're actually working on the product. So we have like 6-month release cycles that we are planning. Summer semester from April to September, and the winter semester from October to March. And when the planning phase for those semesters are actually starting, all this feedback is reviewed again, the most important aspects from the feedback that we collected, but also, and let me point that out because some people don't believe, from ideas.fabric.microsoft.com are evaluated each and every time. So the customer voice is really, really important to us. We're taking that very seriously, which doesn't mean that we actually will build every request that we're hearing, or
prioritize.
And the other aspect is, it is very important for us to differentiate between what the actual problem statement is. So what is actually the problem, or what is the job that needs to be done, We're not looking for solutions, because the solution is something that our teams need to design to actually fit into the strategy of the product and to actually help us shape the product as such. We're just looking to understand the problem, which is also part of the challenge, actually supporting the customers in delivering feedback by asking them those right questions. So what is it that you actually want to achieve? Not what is the feature you're missing, but what is the problem that you want to solve?
Yeah. Yeah. And I suppose if a few of these feedbacks can combine into one feature, that would work out even better, isn't it? Like just combine
Absolutely.
it and gets, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you are also passionate about advocating for diversity in tech. And I suppose that's how you are mentoring. Do you mentor usually in most of the conferences? Because obviously we met because you were mentoring. I was
Which
your mentee at Data Scotland, which was amazing.
which as you said, I was challenging you, and I think that was my biggest duty in mentoring you, because you didn't need anybody to help you shape an idea. You didn't need anybody to actually set up your storyline or create your slides. You were perfect at all of that. But the first time we met, I already saw all this potential in you. I saw all this enthusiasm about what you were doing, and you were just keeping it all to yourself. So that is also part of what I feel a mentorship do, actually try to encourage the mentee to trust themselves, to really try them out, because that's, like you said, that is what I was allowed to do, and that is why
Mhm.
I'm here where I am today. And yes, I think I just love sharing about myself, sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, especially sharing my own mistakes and faults and difficulties, because in the end, that's what we all are. We are all humans. We all have our challenges. We all have our difficulties in life, and um, there are those amazing people we always see, we admire from afar or from a distance, who always look so perfect. They know everything. They have an answer
Mhm.
to every question. They all their demos are working. It's like perfect. I'm not like that. I've never been like that. I'm just me. I'm tinkering around. I'm meddling with IT. I know a lot and I understand a lot, but there is so much more I don't know, and there is so many things. It's really tough for me to understand or to work around, and my demos fail so often in presentations. But I think that is so important, because that is what many attendees in your sessions will experience when they try working with that as well. So that is, I'm not intentionally failing in my session, but I don't mind if it happens, because that's just a reflection of reality and what to many of us happens. And just trying um, to actually meet it with a smile and
Mhm.
try to think about the solution, then rather about why we are failing.
Yeah.
That is the kind of statement I want to share. And that is, I think, especially important when you are a young or inexperienced speaker,
Mhm.
because especially in this kind of community where you see those speakers that are almost idols with all those experience, who
Yeah.
seem like knowing everything, that might be very intimidating. And I think that doesn't have to be the case, because all of us started young, all of us started inexperienced, all of us failed at some cases and at some point in time. And that's not a bad thing. On the contrary, we learn best through failures. That's what I really believe. And so I always want to encourage and say, like, the only time you can lose is when you don't even try.
Mhm.
And if you fail, then this might give you some additional insights that you don't get when everything works from the start. Because if
Yeah.
everything works from the start, you might have found exactly the right way that works for you as a presenter, that works best, that gives you the best feeling, the best experience, which makes you the happiest. But it might just be that you found something which is working for you, but you're not challenged to question yourself and try and find out if there's something which you even like better. And I think that is another aspect which I like to share when mentoring. Um, Never try to copy somebody. I mean, when I'm looking at speakers, and I'm still doing that all the time, sometimes there's something I find very interesting and I'm trying it
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm trying to find out if that is something which helps me become better because that's what I want. But
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't feel natural, if it's not me, if I'm trying to change myself, or to put a mask on just to feel, just because I feel this looked so good, then it
Mm-hmm.
might have looked good at that person. But if it's not me, then it's not good enough, because I have to find out for myself what is me, and that is only, I can only do that by trying and maybe failing. So if
Yeah.
I don't try, I cannot improve. And again, this is, I'm not a wise person. I'm just a person who is not afraid to fail or to make mistakes. Um, but that is something which I feel is my responsibility to share, because I think there are a lot of people who are actually afraid to make mistakes, and that is part of our culture, and that is something which I'm very sorry about, because very often we are actually preventing ourselves from growing and becoming our better selves, because we are too afraid to actually make mistakes that are part of the learning and the growing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there are some companies that actually actively help you gain those skills. And there are others which will actively tear you down the moment you make a mistake. So I suppose it's like finding the right fit for you as well. Maybe you thrive in that overly competitive environment, or maybe you're a person who likes to make mistakes and learn from those mistakes as well, isn't it? I really love what you said about the mentorship again. So it's like a cycle of mentorship going on at this moment. So all of us are passing on our little things, and now I have two mentees as well, so I'm going to pass on what I've learned from all of you. So that's lovely as well. And there's the other point you made about being your own genuine self as well. It is sometimes scary to let people see you along with your vulnerabilities, because you feel like, if I am at this role doing this certain thing, I have to be perceived to be a certain way. And I'm very good at that. I'm very good at building myself little boxes to go and fit into, which I'm actively trying not to do anymore, because you finally made me realize that that's what I was doing. And the other is about the idea of perfection, isn't it? It's just so, I mean, I wish I could just tell everybody that there is no such thing as being perfect all the time. It does not exist. And I kind of tell, well, I try to tell that to my daughter. But even in the younger generation, that idea of being perfect or seeming perfect is quite deep into the psyche, which worries me sometimes.
I I understand that, and that very much resonates with me. And I think I was driven by this always almost need to be perfect, for quite some time, and it put me under a lot of pressure. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying that I'm still very ambitious, and maybe sometimes my own expectations are over exaggerated or hard to
Mhm.
meet. But actually, one of my other weaknesses made me help change that part of me, at least slightly. Because another thing which might appear to be in conflict with me not being afraid of making mistakes is that I still care too much about what other people think about me. It got better, but it's still something that challenges me. But on the other side, when trying to reflect about that, trying to understand where this is coming from, I was also very much thinking about how I perceive other people. And part of this thought process was that people who appear to be perfect are people I don't like very much, because I feel small next to them.
Mhm.
And I always doubt that they are perfect. So I never believe they are genuine. And thinking about that, reflecting on that, actually made me think, well, if I don't like people who seem to be perfect. Why should people like me better when I'm perfect?
Mm-hmm.
And that tiny little thought made me actually be more at ease with myself not being perfect. It's not like it's working all the time, but
Of course, yes.
actually, I want to be liked by people. That's my driver. And I can imagine that as little as I like perfect people, probably many others don't like perfect people either, because I think comparing ourselves to others is something which a lot of us are doing. And if you're comparing to somebody who's perfect, you can only lose. So why would you want somebody perfect in your group, in your bubble? So
Yeah.
if I'm perfect, if I would be perfect, then maybe a lot of people wouldn't like me in their bubble, because I wouldn't make them feel small, and that's not what I want. I want them to feel good.
That is definitely, yeah, I don't think I thought of it that way at all so far. See, you're challenging my thought again. um, yeah, well, I for one, I'm really glad to whoever in the Data Scotland team decided to pair us up together, because I think we're a really good match, and I hope you agree.
I'm so grateful for the Data Scotland team. So sorry that we couldn't meet in person last time because I unfortunately was ill. So maybe quick spoiler. I mean, the two of us submitted a session to Data Scotland to actually share about how our life changed by being mentor and mentee. And I would be very disappointed if our session doesn't get selected.
We're staring directly at the teams of selectors now. Please select our session. It'll be really fun, we promise. And yeah, I think it'll be really good. And I don't think it's been done before, to be honest. So it'll be interesting for that as well. So if you could go back in time, would you make any changes to the way you took your career journey?
Situations where your decisions at that point in time don't feel good, or you think about what might have changed. But on the other side, I for myself can say, even though I'm far from perfect, even though my life is far from perfect, um, I love the journey so far. I love all the people I met by leading my life. And I learned to appreciate the person I became over time. So all of that actually happened because of the decisions I made. So why would I want to
Mm-hmm.
change them? It would be interesting to see what would have gone different if I had made different changes. Sometimes I would love those glimpses into the other trousers of time to actually see what would have happened. But I'm the product I'm the product of my decisions. So I no sometimes I'm thinking it would be interesting to see, but I don't regret them and I wouldn't change anything.
Yeah. And I suppose you're constantly changing still, isn't it? So anything that if you would want to change, you can still change. So yeah.
Exactly.
I was almost
It's
going to say, it's kind of sounding like the multiverse now. Let's see that version of yourself. What is she up to right now? Kind of.
yeah. No, it's always like I still love to think about it, and I still love to explore new things, to broaden my horizon, to gain new experiences, meet new people, and all of this is changing me constantly.
Hmm.
And that is actually amazing. It's and
No,
I'm
it's
always curious to see what the next day will bring, and what is hiding behind the next corner, and who I will meet next. So I mean, life brought us together, so that's definitely something I'm very grateful for.
no, definitely. It's I think it's like you are in your perfect, well, not the perfect, again, I'm not using the word perfect. You are in probably the best role for yourself, like where you get to do all these things and explore and meet people and share your knowledge. And that's literally your day job,
Yeah.
not like, having to go around doing it on the side, which is amazing. But yeah, that's great. So I have a few recurring questions that I ask all my interviewees. So the first one is the career curveball. So was there a moment where your career kind of took an unexpected turn?
Several times. So maybe speaking about the fullness of my career. After school, I didn't really know what to do. I didn't have a clear career plan. So my first thought was becoming a veterinarian. So I started an apprenticeship as a veterinarian assistant just to find out that this is not my dream job.
Mm-hmm.
And after I finished that apprenticeship, I started my university course to become a Bachelor of Science in Systems Engineering,
Mm-hmm.
because that gave me some time. There were different pillars that was built on, like economics and IT um, uh, and physics. So I still had some time to actually find my way. And then the last thing I wanted to do is working in IT. But when I finished my university career, IT was the only option where I could find a job. So
Mm.
that's how I landed in IT. And then I really wanted to be an application developer, but I found out that I love data more, and I'm actually quite good working with data. So to me, I never had a clear career path. I learned that for me, and that's my personal experience, it's not something I would recommend to anybody else. It's just like, listen to how you feel about it. I love to see what life presents as opportunities and embrace them. So I am in the lucky situation that I hardly ever had kind of existential angst about my career or my future. I
Mm-hmm.
always this is the one thing I was always pretty confident about, that I would find a way. But that also left me to the freedom to actually freely explore and think about all the opportunities that were presented to me. And challenging yourself by changing your career and embracing new opportunities sometimes might feel quite frightening,
Mm-hmm.
but it also can be extremely rewarding, and and some of this is really like new adventures, and I like adventures.
Oh, definitely. I totally agree with you because that's what I felt like when I, finally left my job of 10 years to turn into data by doing a master's in data science. I was like, oh my God, so scary. But at the same time, it was brilliant when it was done because, when the course was done, I was like,
Yeah.
I still, no matter what has happened in the years since then, I do not regret making that change at all because I have changed completely as a person from that role to here. And I'm so glad I was able to, explore and find myself that way as well.
And seeing how you also changed throughout this year, listening to how you spoke about those decisions, about how you made this decision, how you came up to it, it feels like it just had to be. So it feels like you're actually allowing yourself to grow, allowing yourself to actually explore new sites, new faces, new opportunities in your life. And that is so important because, I mean, we are not, nobody is staying the same person for their whole life. And by not allowing those changing persons or changing attributes in our life to actually also find the right echo in what we're doing, to me feels um, like kind of a sad song. It's you are changing, so why not look for changed opportunities in your life that might
Mhm.
actually feel better to your today's self, than the things that your past self actually decided would be the amazing thing to do.
True. So the next one is about data hot take. So is there any surprising opinion about data or AI that you've heard?
I have to admit that I'm still struggling with this whole AI story a little bit, because I'm a very down to earth, hands on, I want to work with my data and I need proof for everything person. So the whole AI change that is happening during the past 2 years, sometimes,
Yeah.
especially the whole conversational AI, or generative AI, is sometimes frightening me a little bit.
Mhm.
Because to me, it feels like I should just embrace that change, like I embrace other changes. But I'm lacking the confidence in it because
Mm.
I don't understand what is happening. Data
Mhm.
science is my weak point. So I don't really understand what is happening. I don't understand what those LLMs are doing. And I don't always trust the result. So
And
um,
to be
this is
honest, you shouldn't either, should you? I mean, I don't think anybody should trust the results, blindly from it, because in the end of the day, they're still big black boxes. We don't know
yeah,
exactly what's going on. And you can try your best by only giving it, balanced data and, good things. But in the end of the day, till they make it more explainable,
yeah,
but it's really good for enterprise level
it
data things
is.
that it saves a lot of time on a certain things, but no blind trust.
And
Probably
I
not.
think that's the interesting bit because my feeling is that there are too many people who are just blindly trusting it.
Oh.
And I think what I see as a challenge for myself might also be an opportunity to actually, again, help not only educate myself, but also support others by
Mhm.
trying to find that balance between my mistrust and their blind trust.
Yeah, see where it can come and balance to it.
Exactly. And so this is my challenge for the time to actually learn to embrace it in a meaningful way
Mhm.
without blindly trusting, but by finding this right level of trust or the right ways how to actually use it to my benefit instead of just rejecting it because of the lack of trust. So this is something which is super important. And like you said, um, the other opportunity that presents itself as part of this is the challenge for data quality,
Mhm.
balanced data, um, high quality data,
Mhm.
actually understanding how you can improve your data and your processes to actually make the results more reliable, more trustworthy. And that is part of the whole data journey that I'm very interested in, and that what always has been kind of a passion of myself, of mine. So that is something which I see as a kind of opportunity to actually understand how that journey can look like, how maybe AI can even help us do this, but also how we can make it easier for people to actually understand how to improve the quality of their data, how to understand the quality of their data, and how in turn can help this
Mhm.
supporting them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It has to both be together. And um, for me, I think I still worry a bit that because it's so new and so exciting to everybody, people just keep using it. And for me, the environmental concern is a bit this thing as well. Like, you need a lot of resources going into everybody just randomly typing random stuff and creating memes out of it. So I'm just like, maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe I'll try to use it for something I think it can be used for.
Yeah.
But yeah, but certain things, like even if I try to summarize a conversation, it does not pick out the right things.
Mm.
And usually I end up, writing it my own way. And for me, I think, I don't know if you know about Grammarly, the spell check and this thing. I think that's enough for me at the moment in terms of writing and this thing, because I kind of, like I said, I'm kind of confident about my voice now and I want it to sound like me.
Yeah. I know what you mean. And in not putting it the way I want it to be put, my first time I really intentionally used and it was ChatGPT. It was not Copilot, I have to admit. I used ChatGPT was when I was asked to actually write a preamble for a book,
Hmm.
and I never had done that before. And somebody just said like, and I was thinking about it. Just ask ChatGPT what you should
Hmm.
write. And I really tried to put a very, very precise prompt with all of
Hmm.
the important topics I wanted to state. And ChatGPT gave me a quite impressive answer, really well
Hmm.
structured, a lot of things. And I read it and I thought, this is so helpful
Hmm.
because now I know what exactly I don't want.
I swear that's exactly what I think half of the time. I'm just like, this is what I don't want to do. Thank you.
But I mean, knowing what you don't want sometimes is
That's
already
important as well. Yeah, yeah. I suppose it's like having that little person to chat to, saying, okay, here are your ideas. You don't necessarily have to take them, but at least it
Yeah,
ignites the other side of your brain, which is like, okay, that's definitely not, the way I want to go. And I want to do this. It kind of speeds up that process sometimes.
exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So the next one is balancing it all. So, how do you manage your work life balance? Is there any hobbies that help you recharge, or is balance not a thing, judging by your expression?
That's a great question. So I'm probably not okay. If any of my colleagues will listen to this, and if I would say something like, "Oh, I'm so good at balancing my work and my private life," they probably would love themselves silly. So let's say this is something I'm very aware of. I'm very aware of how important it is. And I'm very aware that this is one of the big opportunities where I can still grow and improve. So I'm trying to take some time. I'm trying to do it like every quarter, but sometimes it turns out to be rather every semester to really take some time and sit back and rethink the past few months and how I did and what the actual reasons for me not balancing my life were, to identify those reasons and to think about what I might change. And I think what I found out about myself is big changes don't work very well. It's more like trying to think about the small steps I can take. Rather, a small step at a time, something I can do every day without too much effort, and then rather a few small steps that you try time bit after bit, instead of one big change. Because I for myself can say, um, learning a new ritual or learning a new methodology for something I do, for me is really, really difficult. It takes a long time until I get used to something. So if
Mhm.
I change part of my behavior or my plans significantly or rapidly, then I will be in a level of unease and insecurity for a quite long time. And that is something which is not very helpful if your work life is quite challenging. So taking some time for a kind of retrospective, really making yourself an appointment to do that, maybe, and
Mhm.
trying to identify 2 or 3 small steps that might help you improve. That's the only thing that I can tell that worked for me so far. Again, it's a journey, but you need challenges in your life. So this is one of my challenges.
Yeah, definitely. And it's about being aware of it as well, isn't it? Like,
Yeah,
if you just keep going ahead without being aware of it, that's the quickest way to burn out as well. So, yeah,
yeah,
cool. Finally, for the most important question, sweet or savory, which would you prefer?
Avery for sure.
Oh.
I love sweet things, and sometimes I really have a craving for something sweet. Um, but I found out the less sweet things I eat, the more rare and the less impactful that craving becomes. Savory never stops.
Actually, that is quite true, isn't it? The more you eat sweet stuff, the more you want it.
Yeah,
Ah, which is
it's
sad for me because I prefer the sweet stuff and I've been trying to now, gradually cut down. But there was a time in my life I went for like a month without any sweet things. And it kind of really changed my taste buds in a way. I didn't even want it anymore till I started, eating again. And then it was all gone down to the bin. So it can be done. So,
things can become overly sweet if you're not used to it any longer. It's like you said, it's really changing your how your taste buds experience that. I
mhm.
agree.
Surprisingly, we went to Italy recently and their sweet stuff, it's not as sweet as UK stuff is, if that makes
Mhm.
sense. I mean, it's like the right amount compared to the overly sugarly rush that we get. And I was like, oh, it can be done this way. That would have been quite, good in the first place. But
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe nationally they prefer less sweet in their, and we just, I don't know. What is Germany like?
Oh, you have a variety of things. So some typical things in Germany are, for example, things like marzipan, for example, which is
Of course, I
super
love
sweet.
marzipan.
So I
Yeah.
mean, but you also have those um, mixture of sweet and almost savory things, which can be quite nice. So,
Hmm.
like especially when you think about baked goods, there are a few ones who are really good. So, yeah, I think we're not in overall we're not as sweet as some, but probably more sweet than many. So,
I think now we
the,
need a
the
little scale as well. Just put
yeah,
every country on the scale of sweetness.
yeah. So when I think, for example, about sweets, I got to know in Turkey, for example,
Mm.
or that is something which to me was a kind of very sugary sweet, like with a lot of syrup quite often,
Yeah,
and
yeah, the
that
baklava
is
kind of stuff. So, yeah, that's too
exactly
much for me too. Yeah.
it's I can appreciate in small portions.
Hmm.
It's really amazing, but on the other side, it's like always this kind of explosion where I think after a tiny bit, it's always like this is so much condensed
Hmm.
sweetness. Uh, it's hardly yeah. So this is the one side of things, and then I actually got a kind of Venezuelan sweet a few weeks ago, which was dried mango with some very, very spicy or a very interesting spice on top. And
Oh,
that was amazing. This was like an explosion of tastes and different different tastes. Something like that is absolutely fascinating. So again, even if I prefer the savory things, never stop trying the sweet things because you might be very positively surprised.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't think there is a similar thing. Like you put, there's this Mexican powder that you get. It's called tajin
Mhm.
that you get and you put on top of fruits. It kind of sounds like that, but it's not a dessert by itself, I suppose.
Yeah,
Oh, goodness.
maybe it's something similar, and they also use it for desserts. I don't know how it was called, but I will try and find out.
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be good. I like exploring cuisines as well, along with every other data career paths you can think of, I suppose.
Yeah,
So cool. So the next one is just like if you have any upcoming things that you like to share with our audience. I think you already said about the potential talk that we might have if we get selected.
that would be amazing. And of course, I will be trying to attend the next FabCon Europe in Vienna in September as well. So,
Okay.
as I'm covering Germany, Switzerland, and Austria from a responsibility perspective, I mean, I have to be in Austria. It's like
Of course.
natural. No, but just kidding. I would like to be there. But one of the other things I'm really looking forward to and I'm very excited about is Sequel in June
Of course.
because
Yeah.
challenging myself, I will be delivering my first real non-tech session. So I did non-tech session
Oh,
in terms of diversity or women in tech session, something like that. But this is my first non-tech session I just submitted for myself. So
oh,
another
that's
challenge.
brilliant. Yeah. Do you know, because the schedule is already out for sequel bets now. So do
It's
you know what day
on
you're speaking?
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday after lunch.
Well, I will definitely be there at sequel bets because I'm part of the volunteer army this year. So we'll definitely see you there. But that doesn't give the Data Scotland team the right. We'll
Because
probably
that's
cut
not
this out,
our
to be
system.
honest.
No, it's just like it can give the Data Scotland team more assurance that the two of us will meet and will be even better prepared, and we are still working on it. But I mean, it's our session together that is the important bit. It's not
That is
just
true. Yeah. And it'll be, I mean, it'll be so much fun. Even just submitting the talk, I think we can kind of guess what the other person wants to do at this moment, which is really nice.
Yeah, I
Cool.
agree.
Well, thank you so much, Gabby, for coming in and speaking to us. I suppose I have to ask you about the updates from the Fabric team, because it's like so. Well, did you say every month you get an update now?
Yes. So
Yeah.
that is something we inherited from the Power BI side of things. So
Right.
we are actually rolling out things more often than on a monthly basis.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a monthly update block that contains all the information, all the changes, which is quite impressive. And then, of course, we have our we more or less have our semester summary at FabCon, if you want to call it like this, because it feels a little bit like that one.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's a quite nice summary. So if you want to actually hear about what happened and what is planned to happen, there is a quite nice blog post that is summarizing the most important announcements from FabCon.
Mm-hmm.
That is something which we could share. But apart from that, yes, recommendations, which for me is useful, is always find your most important source of information for the piece of technology that you need most,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe also a good source of information for the piece of technology that you don't need but that you're interested in. So try to identify those sources of information. And for me, the monthly Fabric blog post is quite important because, to be honest, it is very, very tough to keep on top of all the changes that are happening every month, even if you're working for that product group, because there are just too many things happening. So, yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing that. It's really good to hear that from you as well, because you feel a bit so much happening. And to be honest, at this point, I've kind of stopped it. Like, I pick and choose bits that I need instead of following everything, because it's hard to keep up. And because all my projects are not necessarily in one thing, I kind of have to, separate out the time in that way as well.
That's an important decision to make, because I think if you're really trying to keep on top of everything, you're spreading too thin.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to identify your priorities, probably even in your in the focus of your work related learnings that you have to do. But on the other side, it's always good to have at least one thing outside your primary focus, that you keep a little bit in touch with, because that sometimes also helps you put things in perspective. Maybe call it like that.
Cool. All right. So thank you, Gabby. Thank you for joining me and having this conversation. I'm so glad you could make it.
It was a great pleasure. Thank you,
And
Surya.
I'm so looking forward to seeing you in person this year.
So do I. We know at least Secret it will be, but Data Scotland is what I'm hoping for.
Me too.
And that's a wrap. I really appreciate you tuning in. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to follow for more and share it with others. See you at the next one. Till then, keep connecting and keep learning.